Chat-Funktion zur Verfügung. Über die F&A-Box können Sie auch, während Sie im Zuschauerraum im virtuellen sind, Fragen stellen. Über die Chat-Funktion können Sie später Fragen stellen, die alle sehen können. Und Sie können sich natürlich später dann auch wieder mit der blauen Hand melden. Diejenigen von Ihnen, die über Wilsonstraße FM zugeschaltet sind, möchte ich auch ganz herzlich begrüßen. Auch Sie können sich mit Fragen beteiligen. Bei Ihnen wäre es wie üblich wieder notwendig, dass Sie sich mit einer E-Mail an Paul Kolosseus wenden. Er hat die E-Mail-Adresse kolosseus mit Kolosseus @em.uni-frankfurt.de. kolosseus@em.uni-frankfurt.de. Auf diesem Weg erreichen auch Ihre Fragen uns hier heute im virtuellen Raum dieser Ringvorlesung. And here I would like to change into English and would like to warmly welcome tonight's guest, the playwright, director and educator Pat To Yan from Hong Kong, who will talk to Julia Weinreich from Schauspiel Frankfurt about his new play Posthuman Condition, eine posthumane Geschichte, which will be presented as part of the festival Frankfurter Positionen for the first time on the 6th of February here in Frankfurt. And here I knock on wood 3 times. We will hear parts of it read by 2 actresses of Schauspiel Frankfurt who are part of the production, Anna Bardavilice and Agnes Kammerer, and we will get a chance to talk to Pat To about the political situation in Hong Kong later on as well. But let me first of all briefly introduce him to all of us. He is active both in Germany and of course in Hong Kong, where he is the artistic director of Reframe Theatre, lecturer in dramaturgy of Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts, and elected council member and the chairman of Literary Art of Hong Kong Arts Development Council. His play, A Concise History of Future China, the first part of Posthuman Journey, was selected by the 2016 Berliner Stückemarkt as one of the 5 theater works presented. It was produced by the Staatsschauspiel Saarbrücken and the Lübeck Theater respectively in 2020-2021 and afterwards performed in Berlin, London, Munich, New York, Taipei and Mannheim. Posthuman Condition is now the second part of this posthuman journey. His play in Cantonese, White Blaze of the Morning, was awarded Best Play at the 8th Hong Kong Theatre Libre. Happily Ever After Nuclear Explosion was commissioned by the Munich Residenztheater and premiered in June 2018. It was invited by Taekwon Theatre Season, Asia Playwright Festival in South Korea in 2019, and Sinars Biennale official program in Canada in 2020. In May 2018, he has been invited by National Chengchi University in Taiwan as artist in residence. So we realize he's a really already very famous and attractive playwright, and we are really, really happy and honored, Pat To, that you accepted our invitation tonight. Julia Weinreich was born in Darmstadt. She worked in Jerusalem with survivors of the Shoah. She studied in Berlin and Dublin and graduated here in Frankfurt in the MA Dramaturgy. Afterwards, she worked in Dresden and Salzburg and came back to Frankfurt this year, where she is now working as dramaturg at the Frankfurt Schauspiel, also in this production. And in this position, she is as well the responsible mentor for the so-called Studiojahr Schauspiel. And with this short introduction, I would like to pass over to you, Julia, Pat To, and of course, Anna and Agnes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Guten Abend. I will switch to German now for a short while at least, because we have a short lecture out of the play Posthuman Condition. And Pat To, I will come back to you after our short lecture as we agreed before. Ja, einen wunderschönen Abend nochmal von meiner Seite. Neben mir sitzt Anna Bader-Velice und daneben Agnes Kammerer. Herzlichen Dank an euch beide schon mal vorab, dass ihr da seid. Ich freue mich sehr. Wir sind seit Montag bzw. letzte Woche in den Proben zu einer posthumanen Geschichte und ich möchte kurz bevor wir mit der kurzen Lesung anfangen, eine kleine Einführung geben, um was es denn eigentlich in diesem sehr besonderen Stück geht. Eine posthumane Geschichte erzählt die Geschichte von Frank. Der hat vor allen Dingen eine Leidenschaft neben Jane. Jane wird gespielt von Agnes Kammerer und das ist das Computerspielen. Und er ist Gamer, er ist begeisterter Computerspieler und aus diesem Grund wird er vom Militär als Soldat rekrutiert und wird rekrutiert, um zu Hause vom Sofa aus vor dem Bildschirm via Drohne andere Länder zu bombardieren. Damit ist erstmal sein Lebensunterhalt gesichert und nicht nur seiner, sondern eben auch der von Jane und seines ungeborenen Sohns Anders, der im englischen Original Another heißt. Dazu komme ich aber nochmal später, denn Pat To hat sehr, sehr viele allegorische Figuren in seinem Stück eingebaut und auch Another kann man vielleicht als eine allegorische Figur so verstehen. Das Problem ist, gerade weil Frank via Drohne vom Sofa aus andere Länder bombardiert, ist die Geburt Anders mit einem Fluch, mit einem kantonesischen Fluch belegt. Und dieser Fluch hat zur Folge, dass Anders auf die Welt kommt ohne Po. Und da wir uns aber in der posthumanen Geschichte befinden, das heißt in einem posthumanen Zeitalter, ist natürlich auch dementsprechend die medizinische Errungenschaft oder der medizinische Fortschritt so weit, dass Anders insofern überleben kann, indem ihm ein Cyberpo angesetzt wird oder zugefügt wird, wie dem auch sei. Das ist sozusagen seine einzige Überlebenschance. Die Eltern Frank und Jane entscheiden sich für diesen Cyberpo. Und das Interessante an diesem Cyberpo ist, dass der sich in Höchstgeschwindigkeit so weiterentwickelt, dass irgendwann der Po von Anders intelligenter ist als das Hirn. Das ist sozusagen erstmal der Plot der Geschichte. Das Interessante an der Figur Anders ist aber noch etwas anderes, außer der Tatsache, dass der Po intelligenter ist als der Kopf. Im gleichen Maße, wie der Po sich in Höchstgeschwindigkeit entwickelt, entwickelt sich auch Anders in seinem Alter. Das heißt, zu Beginn des Stückes ist er noch im Bauch von Jane. Wir hören davon auch gleich die erste Szene zwischen Priscilla und Jane. 0 Jahre altes Baby, dann kommt er sozusagen auf die Welt und innerhalb kürzester Zeit ist dieser Anders dann ein 60-jähriger alter Mann. Ich möchte jetzt erstmal überleiten zu dieser kleinen Lesung. Wir beginnen mit Szenen zwischen Jane und Priscilla. Jane lebt im Exil. Wir können davon ausgehen, dass dieses Exil Großbritannien ist, wird aber im Stück nicht nochmal explizit genannt. Jane ist, wie gesagt, schwanger und Priscilla und Jane kennen sich seit einem Jahr. Jane ist eigentlich Computerspezialistin oder zumindest technisch versierte Frau, hat aber darauf keine Lust mehr gehabt, beziehungsweise wäre fast erblindet vor dem Bildschirm und hat deswegen umgeschwenkt, jobbt als Kellnerin in einem China-Restaurant. Priscilla wiederum, gespielt oder gesprochen von Anna Bader-Velice, die leitet eine KI-Firma und die beiden kennen sich seit einem Jahr. Wir hören eine Szene aus dem ersten Akt, 3. Szene, wähle dein Leben.
Wow, schau dich an. Wann ist es soweit?
Noch 2 Monate. Danke, dass du extra angereist bist.
Kein Problem.
Schön, dich zu sehen.
Kein Problem. Ich will dich schon lange treffen. Ist dir schlecht?
Mir geht's gut. Viel stabiler.
Super.
Ich glaube, nach 2 Monaten kann ich wieder arbeiten.
Ist das nicht überstürzt?
Mir ist schon jetzt zu langweilig. Jeden Tag empfiehlt mir die Hauswirtschafterin diese oder jene Aktivität. Fühlt sich an, als wäre es gar nicht mehr mein eigenes Leben.
Ich wusste gar nicht, dass du früher in der Datenindikation gearbeitet hast.
Ja, bevor ich hierher gezogen bin. Jeden Tag auf den Computer gestarrt, bin fast blind geworden. Deshalb habe ich es niemandem erzählt.
Ja, Frank ist das mal rausgerutscht.
Ich weiß.
Aber ist dir unwohl bei dem Gedanken, wieder in einer KI-Firma zu arbeiten?
Ich habe keine Lust mehr, im China-Restaurant zu kellnern, also habe ich keine große Wahl.
Mit was für Daten hast du gearbeitet?
Zuerst Bewegungserkennung. Bevor ich gekündigt habe, habe ich angefangen, abstrakte Gedanken zu lokalisieren.
Das ist sehr fortgeschritten.
Aber noch im Anfangsstadium.
Auf was für abstrakte Gedanken bist du spezialisiert?
Hauptsächlich Philosophie. Kant, Heidegger, Foucault, Zizek.
Wow, dich brauche ich.
Bin ich eingestellt?
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Du bist genau die Richtige für uns. Da kenne ich dich seit einem Jahr und habe keine Ahnung von deiner geheimen Expertise. Also, alles Gute. Und ich freue mich, dich bald in unserer Firma zu haben.
Willst du zum Abendessen bleiben?
Nein, ich muss schnell zu einem anderen Meeting. Aber danke.
Und wir springen in den zweiten Akt. Mittlerweile ist Jane tatsächlich bei Priscilla in der Firma angestellt. Sie arbeitet für Priscilla in der KI-Indikation. 5. Szene, wie indiziert man Kant? Priscillas Büro. Jane zeigt, wie die KI-Indikation funktioniert. An die Decke wird ein Hirn projiziert. Die Neuronenaktivierung ist zu sehen.
Hier, siehst du? Die Lehrerin bringt den Schülern Kants erste Formel bei. Handle nur nach derjenigen Maxime, durch die du zugleich wollen kannst, dass sie ein allgemeines Gesetz werde. In diesem Areal werden die Neuronen aktiviert. Im simulierten Gehirn reproduzieren wir denselben Pfad im selben Tempo. Danach fragen wir, wie Kants erste Formel lautet. Und das simulierte Gehirn kann den Satz wieder erzeugen.
Genial.
Soll ich die philosophischen Gedanken indizieren?
Nein, eigentlich forschen wir auf dem Gebiet nicht. Eine andere Firma wird das Marktmonopol übernehmen.
Ich glaube, die ist noch nicht erfolgreich.
Nicht so ganz. Die arbeiten noch dran. Du hast also recht. Noch ist niemand erfolgreich. Was wir wollen, ist noch schwieriger und komplizierter. Vielleicht einflussreicher. Wir wollen Geschichten initiieren.
Wow.
Jeder hört in seinem Leben eine Menge Geschichten. Von der Kindheit bis ins Erwachsenenalter. Geschichten sind attraktiv, weil sie vielfältig sind. Sie überraschen.
Wenn sie gut sind.
Stimmt. Aber wir stellen fest, dass menschliche Reaktionen auf Geschichten unvorhersehbar sind. Selbst wenn derselben Person dieselbe Geschichte noch einmal erzählt wird.
Mit anderen Worten, es ist schwer, ein Modell der Neuronenaktivität zu erstellen.
Genau. Deshalb bist du hier.
Ich habe noch nie versucht, Geschichten zu indizieren.
Aber du hast Erfahrung mit der Indikation abstrakter Gedanken. Wir müssen nur ein Modell erarbeiten.
Geschichten bedeuten eine Offenheit für Interpretation. Das ist fast unmöglich.
Aber findest du es nicht auch spannend?
Klar. Als ob man die Büchse der Pandora öffnet.
Im dritten Akt ist Frank, also Janes Mann, irgendwo im Kriegsgebiet und mit Hilfe des Gesichtserkennungsprogramms, das wiederum die Firma von Priscilla erfunden hat und an die Regierung des Landes eine Mitte ohne Ende verkauft hat, hofft Jane Frank zu finden. Für die Zuschauer da draußen, das Land, eine Mitte ohne Ende, ist in diesem Fall wieder ein allegorisches Bild für das Land China. Wir sind im dritten Akt. 6. Szene, Komödie und Tragödie. Eine Filmkomödie wird gezeigt, das Publikum lacht.
Also, bevor wir die Story erkennen, müssen wir bestimmen, wie menschliche Emotionen funktionieren. Das ist ein ganz anderer Prozess als die Indizierung philosophischer Gedanken. Menschliche Emotionen sind viel komplizierter.
Die richtigen emotionalen Knöpfe zu drücken.
Zuerst müssen wir die Daten sammeln. Ich unterteile Geschichten ganz simpel in 2 Genres: Komödie und Tragödie. Ich zeige Leuten verschiedene Komödien und Tragödien und messe ihre Emotionen anhand ihrer Augen, Mimik und Gestik etc. Und natürlich anhand der Neuronenaktivierung.
Hervorragend. Wie geht's voran?
Zufriedenstellend. Die Geräte in dieser Firma sind wirklich fortgeschritten. Und die Wissenschaftler sind die Besten auf ihrem Gebiet.
Ich habe das über Jahre aufgebaut.
Das ist spannend. Ich stoße in völlig neue Bereiche vor.
Du bist großartig. Irgendwas Neues zu Frank?
Nein, nichts gehört.
Ich habe mein Team angewiesen, ihn mit Hilfe der Gesichtserkennung zu suchen. Wenn er in der Region ist, müssten unsere Systeme ihn finden.
Vielen Dank. Unsere Firma hat das System in der Region mit aufgebaut.
Ja, vor Jahren. Wir haben es an die Regierung von eine Mitte ohne Ende verkauft. Ich weiß nicht, wie die das einsetzen. Angeblich wollen sie damit Vermisste und Kriminelle aufspüren. Aber wir haben auch nach dem Verkauf noch Kontrolle über das Betriebssystem. Das machen wir uns jetzt zunutze.
Priscilla umarmt Jane. Jane zeigt an einem anderen Film eine Tragödie. Und wir springen ans Ende der Geschichte. Janes Gewissen hat sich mittlerweile gemeldet. Sie hat ethisch-moralische Bedenken wegen der Indikation von Geschichten und kurzerhand alle Daten gelöscht. sehr zum Ärgernis von Priscilla. 4. Akt, Geschichten kaputt machen.
Backup! Es muss doch ein Backup geben!
Nein, ich habe sämtliche Daten gelöscht. Kein Backup. Wiederherstellung unmöglich. Das Projekt ist beendet.
Wie kann man in der postmenschlichen Zeit Daten vollkommen vernichten?
Wenn ich wirklich will, geht das.
Scheiße! Aber warum?
Es ist ein Vergehen.
Alle Menschen durch maßgeschneiderte Geschichten glücklich zu machen. Warum ist das ein Vergehen?
Maßgeschneidert ist so ein schönes Wort. Es ist manipulativ. Es ist nicht neutral oder auch nur natürlich.
Es sind trotzdem Geschichten. Wo ist der Unterschied?
Wir geben ein, welche Reaktion wir erzeugen wollen und dann generieren wir Geschichten. Das ist nicht dasselbe, als wenn ein Mensch Geschichten schreibt.
Scheiße. Mir hätte auffallen müssen, dass du so liberal bist.
Aber ohne mich schaffst du es nicht.
Jane, fang noch mal von vorne an. Daten sammeln, Programme schreiben, egal wie lange es dauert. Ich warte.
Ich fange nicht noch mal von vorne an.
Du erfüllst deine Pflichten nicht. Das ist ein Vergehen.
Ich zahle dir mein ganzes Gehalt zurück.
Jane, bitte. Ich habe den Vertrag schon unterschrieben. Wenn wir nicht fristgerecht liefern, ist die Firma am Ende. Nach diesem Projekt wollte ich mich zur Ruhe setzen. Und die Firma gehört dir.
Ich weiß, mit wem du diesen Vertrag geschlossen hast. Die haben uns seinerzeit abgeschlachtet, unsere Stadt zerstört. Und denen willst du das hier geben, damit sie Menschen auf der ganzen Welt kontrollieren können.
Okay, ich kümmere mich drum.
Es tut mir leid.
Nur eins verstehe ich nicht. Warum hast du überhaupt angefangen?
Neugier.
Bitte komm morgen nicht mehr. Ich hoffe, ich sehe dich niemals wieder.
Ja, vielen Dank, Agnes und Anna, für den kurzen Einblick in die posthumane Geschichte. Ich würde jetzt tatsächlich wieder ins Englische switchen und Pat To bitten, dazu zu kommen, beziehungsweise ich hoffe, er ist da. Und hi, Pat To, back again to Hong Kong. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Hi. Thank you
Excellent.
very much. Thank you very much.
How was it for you to hear you play first time in German?
Yes, also the first time to hear my play. I have
Yeah.
not done any rehearsal or stage reading in Hong Kong. So it's the first time I hear the play. Yes,
Okay.
but I can follow very closely.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Pat To, what we've just heard were 4 short scenes between Jane and Priscilla who argued about AI. To me, these dialogues are somehow the essence of the play, since they deal with the question how to use AI properly without us becoming used by AI.
Yeah.
What was your intention to write a drama that plays entirely in the future between where humans don't exist anymore and AI overtakes all decisions?
Actually, I would say this play is about not only AI and also about those rapid advancement of technology, and which really affects our everyday life and is already part of our life. And okay, I would like to quote the scholar Harari. He has written the books of Sapiens and Homo Deus and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And then he just concluded that, okay, all those technology, okay, can be divided into 2 categories. One is information technology, and another one is biotechnology. And for information technology, okay, for all we know, it's about big data, algorithm. And also the biotechnology is about the genetical engineering and all the stuff that's related to our biology. Mm-hmm. And then he said, okay, if these 2 stuff combine, it means that it's just to allows others to hack our mind, and it's really a big deal. It's really a big problem. So in the play, and actually I invent, okay, this a big company of Priscilla, and then her ambition is, okay, to do the technology, okay, to monopolize the story for the whole mankind. And I think it is really serious. Okay, it is okay. Apart from, okay, being a sci-fi, okay, for sci-fi like play, I also love to write in magical realism, the style, and then I assume that, okay, story is really important to mankind. If there's a country or if there are some big enterprises which can monopolize the story, it means that, okay, the humanity, we may say, okay, it might be destroyed. So I have this line of plots in the play. Yeah.
When we talked on Monday during our first talk via Skype with you about the play and with the whole cast, you were telling us that the initial situation was an exhibition you've seen in Berlin.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about this initial situation that brought you to write The Posthuman Journey?
Yeah. I think you have already mentioned about the very first scene, okay, of the play. That is the protagonist, Frank, okay, he is actually a drone controller. And then in 2014 in Berlin, it's my first time to Berlin. And then I've watched an exhibition about, okay, future technology or future arts, something like that, okay. And then I was shocked by one of the exhibits that is, okay, to show the future aircraft, warcraft, okay, air warcraft, okay, and how they operate, okay. That is, okay, you can just control an aircraft and then to bomb other places in your own country. And then it shocked me. Okay, now, okay, we all know that it's possible, but at that time, okay, it's almost the first time I got to know this technology. And then it is serious, okay, because war, okay, does not, okay, on the bright side, okay, and then you see, okay, there is less casualty or less people to sacrifice. But it means that it is easier for a country or for politicians to wage war. Just because, okay, hey, you see, our soldiers will not get killed because he's in our own country, but we can bomb other countries or other places. And then I think it is quite scary to me. So I start to imagine, okay, Frank, this character, as the first start of the play. And it is exactly the starting point of the play, yeah.
We've just learned, coming back to Jane and Priscilla, that Jane is pregnant with another, which is Anders in German. And pitifully, there lies this Cantonese curse on his birth, and that's why he's born without butt.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this Cantonese curse and its origin, where it comes from.
And actually, it is, we may say it is a slang, okay, just quite like everyday life.
Okay, no, we have problems.
Language, okay, if someone does evil child without butt, yeah. And then, but okay, it is not a really serious curse, okay. You may say, okay, it is quite, well, sarcastic or quite funny, okay, in some situation, okay, you must born a child without butt, okay. And then, so it depends on how you take, okay. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's rather relaxing. And then I think this curse is really interesting, okay, if I change into another linguistic context. And then I think, okay, whether it will be a good story, because I think that, okay, all languages, okay, or all slangs in all languages, okay, actually they have some stories behind. Not only a sentence, not only a line, but it carries stories. And then I try to develop a story just from a slang or a line or a sentence or a curse, yeah.
Would you say you make the curse more important as something with as a bad thing, or would you say it's also kind of humor that you brought in it?
Yeah. I see. Okay, because it's interesting. At first time, I don't know whether it works, but okay, when I come across with people from different countries and I tell them the plot, and then it works. Everyone laughs, and then, oh, okay, I think it works now. Okay, and but okay, this slang, okay, also has some bright side in the story. Just because that this happened, okay, and then Frank sets off a journey to bomb the places, and then he came across with like an extraordinary journey, and he did a lot of things. Okay, and so the curse is only a start to me. Okay, and then finally, okay, he has got some. Okay, the last line of the play is guilty is power, as far as I remember. Yeah, so guilty, okay, may work. Okay, if you make a good use of it. So the curse can be a good thing in this perspective. Yeah.
You've mentioned it before, all your plays are characterized by magical realism that blurs the border between mythical, folk culture, religion, history, and even geography merge into each other. What are your motivations using magical realism as a tool to tell stories?
It's quite interesting that, okay, my favorite writers are Haruki Murakami and also Garcia Gabriel Marquez, and then they are all from, and also Italo Calvino. Okay, they are all from magical realistic tradition. When I was a student, okay, I mean, when I was studying in secondary school, and then I did not quite like realism, and then I think it's always boring. Okay, at some points I found that, okay, some of the Hollywood movies are also boring, okay, and then I just try to watch some, okay, very weird, okay, or cult movies or something like that. So I'd say magical realism, it has a charm that, okay, you think it is reality, but suddenly, okay, there's something unusual or something weird, okay, happen. I think it's quite like our lives. Mm-hmm. And also from this weird stuff, and then we can learn much more about the maybe we can see the truth, or we can say the truth, or any meanings, okay, behind this kind of magic. Mm-hmm. So that's why I adopt magical realism as my own writing style, because I'm afraid of being bored. Yeah.
And there are many weird figures or magical figures as well in post-human condition. One of them is our favorite figure, I would say, the white-bone lady. The white-bone lady is a figure, a quick change artist, I would call her, that comes for the first time in A Concise History of Future China, in your first play. And we meet her now again at Post-Human Condition. It was a lot to do to really understand what this figure is like, but she's changing whenever she wants, from human being to spiders, for example. And what is her origin? What is her background as a figure? And will she appear again in your third play? Because we are talking about a trilogy, right?
Yes. And she came from a lot of things, okay. In A Concise History of Future China, she was a writer. She wrote for the totalitarian governments. The government has invented lots of spots to work for the government. And then the right-wing lady has to write the stories and memories for these robots. But these robots wanted to believe that, okay, they are the true human beings, so they killed right-wing lady, okay, in A Concise History. And then after that, okay, many audience and readers asked me, okay, why she did not come back to life? Okay, and then I, according to their wishes, and then I get her back to life in post-human condition. And why white-bone lady? Okay, it came from a Chinese literature tradition called A Journey to the West. And the story is like this, okay, the monk, okay, wanted to have the Buddhism Bible, okay, and then he traveled to India to get the Bible. But, okay, during the journey, he came across with a lot of monsters which wanted to eat him because he was a virgin for 7 lives, okay. Very weird, okay. And then if the monster, like, okay, the spiders, okay, and then who had done meditation for 1,000 years, and then if she ate him, and then she will become a human, or she will walk, okay, be much more near to nirvana. And then one of the lady is called, Spider Woman, and also another is White Spoon Lady. Okay, they all use magic, okay, to seduce the monk and then wanted to eat him. And then I combined these two figures into this one. Okay, so the spider can suddenly become a human. That is in the Journey to the West tradition. And why white spoon? Okay, and I am fascinated by one of the concepts. Okay, which is actually developed by the Tibetan Buddhism. Okay, there's a kind of meditation. Okay, all Buddhism wanted to people to detach. Okay, why we feel painful? Because we are attached to stuff. But all the things will be gone. And then if they do the meditation of white spoon meditation, and then they will imagine that your lover to get old and then die and then buried under the soil and then became the white spoon. And then if you do this meditation and then you see everyone will be gone, and then you just try to detach. And then I'm fascinated by this concept. And then that's why I also include, White Spoon Lady again in post-human condition. Yeah.
The deeper we get during the rehearsals, we realize that it's really challenging, all these allegory figures you put into the play, because we ask ourselves how to transform these figures into a Western European view, which might be much more common knowledge in your surrounding in Hong Kong, for example. Still, I wonder and would like to know, is it a common sense? Is it a common knowledge, for example, the white bone lady, or let's say the myth of the white bone lady? And does everybody know this origin, as you said, as the Taiwanese story?
I would say, the first thing is I think various cultures also share the mythologies.
Yeah.
And then I think there are much more commonalities or similarities between the mythologies. Okay. And then so we love stories, and then stories are also coming from mythologies. So that's why I use this. And but as a character or as an audience, you do not need to know the backstory or the stuff that I've shared. You can just believe in that character. It is quite a magical woman, and magical woman actually is shared among different cultures. So that's why I have some backstories of us. My ideas may come from various mix of cultures, but for audience, you do not need to be equipped with this kind of knowledge. Yeah.
I have millions, thousands of millions more questions, but we are still very much in contact. So I would say all the questions we have for our team concerning your play, that is something we can discuss to another at another point during our rehearsals. So now I would say to have our virtual theater all together, I would invite to come back Mr. Müller-Schöll. And we open, I would say, the discussion into more the political side of the play and the questions about the, let's say, the democracy movement in Hong Kong and how this all relates also to your play or to the work we do now. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much, all four, for these insights into this new production and this play. When I read the play, and I'm grateful to the Schauspiel that they had me read it beforehand and had us also study it here. When I read it, I was wondering, how can we relate such a play to the political situation that you're in? Because to some extent, it seems to me that, and that's maybe something we can also learn from, let's say Garcia Marquez. So on the one hand, you are there in a daily situation, which might be really difficult. And then on the other hand, you take that, put it into parts and put back the parts in different ways into this kind of new play. So it becomes something that is made out of this daily struggle, but it also becomes something completely different, where there's also maybe something like a utopia. So how do you start out writing such a play? What is it, what turns you on to go out of this daily situation into this kind of magic realism, which is a way of dealing with it, but also a way of evading it in a way?
Okay, I think to me, you may say it is a vacation
Mm-hmm.
from the daily life that I'm facing. Actually, I wrote, okay, or I completed this play just at the peak of the protests in Hong Kong last year. Okay, actually, I finished it. Okay, I started to write at the end of July last year, and then I finished it at the beginning of September. So you see, okay, it is the peak, and also I actively participated in the protests. So but usually the protests happened as weekend, and then during weekdays, and then I kept going back to the library and then devoted all of my time to write this play. And from this play, actually, I view it from a much wider timeline or much wider geographical space. Okay, though I use all different symbols in the play because I wanted the audience or readers from various cultures. Okay, they may have different kinds of imagination, but I also have some assumptions. That is, say the country a center without bottom line. Okay, it's just like China, and then it is having a war. Okay, and then or some other countries wage war at China, something like that. And then so it is also relevant to the Hong Kong situation because according to Chinese history, and then because China has not developed a sustainable political system, and then there's a word that if it is long divided, and then it will be united, and then if it is long united, and then it will be divided. So we don't know where it is going, but likely it will say sooner or later it will become chaotic, the situation. So that's the starting point of me to relate to the current situation. But I don't just want to stick to what is happening at that time, and then I just want to just like a camera to zoom out, not to zoom in. Yeah.
A camera to zoom out, that is an interesting picture that you use there, because it means, on the one hand, if you're too close to a difficult political situation, then it will not be productive, right?
Yeah.
So in that respect, I guess that it's already a kind of political act to step out. So to say, okay, here is this political situation unbearable, but there is one way out, which is in writing, maybe.
Yeah. I always emphasize, or I always agree with Murakami's notion of literature is imagination. Like you see, many big things happening in Hong Kong, still happening, but in writing for literature or writing plays, I always think that I should have some distance with what's happening. Otherwise, if we come too close, and then the works will become less imaginative. So imagination is the most important thing when writing. Say, if I want to write something analytical or very relevant to the political situation, and then I want to give some suggestions, and then I will choose to write essay, which actually I always do. Yes, I've written some essays about Hong Kong situation for various German media, and I also write for Hong Kong's media. So I think these are two ways for me to deal with the current situation about my thoughts. Yeah.
We might get more to, let's say, the political situation, but I'm still very interested in your, let's say, in your artistic choice there. So when you talk about writing, what then precisely is for you the specific interest in theater? Because I mean, Marquez and Murakami, they are in the first place, of course, writers writing novels, huge novels, and you decide to write plays. What is theater for you? Is it in a way just the kind of catalytic factor to make you productive, or is there a specific interest also why you would like to be theater, the place where your texts then will be staged and where there is a work with your text?
And I think the first thing, okay, I love novels a lot, okay. Though because I start work as a theater maker and then I seldom write novel in these 10 years. But for me, the most interesting thing for theater is it is three-dimensional. It is 3D. Okay, for novels, okay, you read the words, okay, it is just two-dimensional. But for theater, okay, you must imagine the visual presentation. Okay, surely, okay, for playwrights, okay, we should be focused on language, okay, much more on language. Yes, it's on one hand, but okay, if for a play, you have to, or it's our duty to think about the theatricality of the play. And then to me, it is the visual, or it is the three-dimensional. And actually, one of my interests or hobbies or interests, okay, anyway, is visual arts. I have been a visual artist for a very short time after graduation, actually. Okay, after graduation, the first media that I enter is not theater, it's visual arts. But okay, I'm not a successful visual artist, so I gave up. Gave up after a very few years. Okay, but I still, okay, I'm still in love with visual arts. Okay, say when I go to a city, and then the first thing is the first places of interest that I go is art museum or contemporary art museum, something like that. Yeah. So I think this is very important for me to distinguish the difference between the novel or the play. Yeah.
I would like to go back once more to the question of freedom in the imagination. I loved this picture you just mentioned. The imagination you have, the freedom of imagination you have in literature. But as far as I understood, in a country like China or even now in Hong Kong, the situation is so harsh. This imagination, you can be even tortured. So is it still a freedom having this imagination, this freedom in the literature, or do you feel you have to be in another place to really develop this kind of freedom in literature?
Okay, I think let me put in two various ways. Okay, the first thing is the freedom is okay. As I have written in a concise history, that is, your mind is the freedom. Yeah. Your mind has the biggest space for freedom. Okay, say, for example, if someone is arrested, okay, be tortured, but okay, still others can't read his mind. Okay, and then so it is okay in my mind. Okay, I always have the freedom of literature. But okay, in a practical way, okay, how we can do it, okay, say to stage the play or to publish a book, I'd say the situation is becoming worse and worse. And I've just got some news, quite updated news, okay, that is the pro-government parties, okay, have set up some publishers, okay, I think that they want to monopolize, okay, the markets. Actually, they are already doing this for 20 years because the distributor is being monopolized by the pro-government companies, and they take over 90% the markets. So you see, okay, the freedom of publication, it means that the freedom of publication of literature is being threatened. And for theater, well, I think, okay, the storm is coming, okay, or like Game of Thrones, okay, winter is coming, okay, but not yet the winter, okay, still. I am still struggling, okay, say, just like, okay, what I've told you, okay, I just want to find funding to stage this play in Hong Kong. Though, okay, it's not yet successful. But, okay, in the near future, okay, will it be impossible? I don't know. Really, I do not have any answer. Okay, just, okay, step by step, just try to do it. Yeah.
Would you say it's realistic to stage your play? You said it before, in 2002 in Hong Kong, or is this already something which might be forbidden then? Are you afraid of having this freedom in directing your own play?
Yes, I'm afraid of. Okay, for example, okay, now it's still possible. I see it because a funder in Hong Kong said, okay, it's quite positive to the play, and then I think finally I can find a way to do it. But okay, say one thing, will they set up any censorship, or say what they are doing now is, okay, you have to pledge your loyalty to the national security law, okay, say for the civil servants, and then will they widen the scope, like, okay, if you work as a teacher, you have to pledge the loyalty, and then will all the performers or theater makers, you have to pledge the loyalty to the law. And then, well, I think it's questionable. Say if they ask me to pledge and then I won't pledge, and then it means that I may never have the chance to do this show or any other shows in Hong Kong. It might happen, I say. They are now, okay, imposing this pledge to on the civil servants. Don't know what's the next step. Yeah.
So that is to say, part of the problem is for you now in Hong Kong, that you can't trust, let's say, in some kind of a public sphere, which is clearly defined and where you have like clear rules and clear limits, but that there is a permanent change of that. You talk in your text, Keep Walking, also about the police turning into a monster. Could you tell us a little bit about this daily experience of state violence becoming this kind of uncanny, instance which you can't rely on, but which is also, on the other hand, still kind of the state violence, so the legitimate violence in the country. What does it mean to live with that?
Okay. I think maybe you have already known quite a lot about from the news. Okay, say the Hong Kong police brutality, and then they will attack people indifferently. And now, okay, we are faced the problem that we are facing is, okay, the indiscriminate arrests and also the injustice trial, because they have got no costs. Say if they arrest a person and then they put them into the courts, and then if you are lucky enough, and then you will have a relatively justice judge, and then you may be released freely. But it has already taken for 1 or 2 years. It means that, okay, the process is still a torture, okay, on one hand, okay, and then on other hand, okay, and then they well, okay, you may say it's a rumor, but I believe that okay, some protesters or some youngsters are caught and then beaten to death, and then they throw their bodies okay to the sea or from the building, and then because okay, say from statistic, the suicidal rates has suddenly surged highly in the second half of 2019. And then most of them are youngsters. And then it is really abnormal. Okay. And then, well, there are some cases like this, okay, which are disturbing. Okay. And for me, say, for example, I have also got the fear that, okay, I may be arrested. We don't know, okay, someday they will arrest you because you have say something which are against the government on social media. And then they say, okay, you have already violated the national security law. And then if I got arrested, and then I can do nothing. And also, okay, say in Hong Kong now, okay, if as I've mentioned on Monday as well, if I have got some crime, I have faced some crime like a theft or robbery, will I call the police? Okay, I wonder, because you don't know, okay, the one who robs you may be the police. Okay, and then you can do nothing about them. Yeah. So the Hong Kong people's lives are quite precarious at the moment. Yeah.
And to what extent did this experience change the way you were working? I mean, is it basically also part of your strategy to turn your work into a work which is a work in between Europe and Hong Kong? Does the fact that you can also have your plays being shown in Germany change your situation? Is that maybe also giving you a certain security with regard to your country? Because I imagine you're already kind of a prominent figure. I mean, I don't think that there are that many authors from Hong Kong who are played on German stages. At least I must admit, I don't know them. So I think could that be also maybe a strategy to save people by just giving them a chance to become well-known, read, discussed in our country, for example?
Yes, actually, you may say I intentionally to develop my theater career in the world theater context. Actually, the starting point is 2014. I went to London to study playwriting. Because actually I have engaged actively in social movements, and also I'm quite outspoken. Okay, and then I know that I won't give up my freedom of speech actually. That's okay if say I always stay in Hong Kong, and then outside Hong Kong no one knows me, and then I think I will be dangerous. I will be endangered. Okay. And that's why say I try, I go to London, and then I really want to try writing in English, and then write plays in English, and then I try to send my play text to different competitions, and then finally luckily I got selected by the Berliner Stockmarkt, and then said that's why I slowly developed this kind of international connection, and which actually is also the same mindset of some of the protesters. We call it is international line, that is to connect with different countries, governments, and then we just try to create pressure on Chinese governments in this way. And I say I will be safer if I got seen by more people outside Hong Kong or outside China is one of my strategies, but okay, and not so practical. Okay, not how to say, okay, not so calculated. I always, as a playwright, I also want to see the audience of readers, okay, from all over the world, okay, because I like to connect, okay, or communicate with people around the group, yeah. But yes, the intention is like this. I admit that.
At this point, I would like to open the discussion also to the audience. So perhaps, Selim, if you could have them come back in, it would be great, so that we get to see them and that they might take this as an invitation to join our discussion and the talk with Pat To. So we wait a short moment while all those names come back in, and those of you who would like to, maybe you switch on your camera, but you don't have to, of course. And please don't be intimidated to ask questions also in German if you like. We can translate them into English if that should be a problem, or if you feel just more safe asking questions in German. There is, of course, something which is, for somebody living here in Europe, like me, very moving when I listen to this story of, as it seems, extremely difficult situation. Now, in this text that you wrote, Keep Walking, at one point you say, well, it's hard to believe that this still happens in the 21st century after all this progress, so that all these crimes, these dictatorships, racism, that all that happens now in this time of infinite progress, one could say. But isn't the story that you undergo in Hong Kong at the moment, is it not also, let's say, part of a colonial history that we Europeans also should feel responsible for? Would that not be also something that when we encounter each other, that we would have to discuss?
Wow, it's interesting because it went back to the Hong Kong history. Wow, very complicated. But okay, to put it simple is okay. Hong Kong was colonized by Britain, okay, and then actually to us it is when we went back to the Chinese government's governance, it's another colonization. So Hong Kong was having second time to be colonized actually, and then if we went back to 1980s, that is because in 1984 and then the Chinese government and then the British government signed the joint declaration, okay, about the Hong Kong future. That is 1997, okay. That Hong Kong has to be handed over back to the Chinese government. At that time, these two governments, they negotiated and they talk about our future, but without our say. Actually, Hong Kong people did not participate in that process. You may say, okay, why Hong Kong people did not fight for? Surely, okay, there were few, but they were not the mainstream opinions. And also at that time, you may say Hong Kong people may also think that okay, they belong to China. They are also Chinese. But okay, there is the first turning point is okay, the 1989, the Tiananmen massacre. And then at that time, okay, Hong Kong people, okay, were alert about okay the atrocity of the Chinese government. Okay, it is the first time. But after 1997, okay, it seems quite normal, though freedom of speech or rule of law and actually slowly diminished. But okay, not that worse. I say. Okay, but okay, say the first time, okay, in 2014, in the Umbrella Revolution, and then we know that, okay, for the first time, and the colonization is so, okay, vivid, or is so clear and pleasant. And then the 2019 protests, okay, we see much worse, okay. And then, well, to put it simple, okay, Hong Kong is undergoing this kind of history. Yeah.
There was this party founded by Joshua Wong, Demostito. I probably don't spell it right. Can you help me out?
Josh Wong, yes. The Demostito.
Yeah,
like
okay. I won't repeat it now.
To pronounce.
Okay, but this party is cancelled this summer, as far as I understood. Yes. And is there still a movement, or I would say, does another party is another party founded which also follows these aims of Hong Kong becoming a democratic city, or is there a movement still going on which follows the democratic idea of another country?
And actually, the leaders of the party,
they're all in jail.
The three big leaders, okay, Josh Wong and Chao Ting, Miss Chao Ting, were arrested, and then they were sent to jail, okay, for 1 or 2 years. And then Nathan Law had chosen into exile. So he's now in England. And actually, Josh Wong and Nathan Law, and then they have this kind of division of labor, you may say. Okay. And then in Hong Kong, I say there is no room for any political party which is against the government. All legislators, almost all legislators, okay, which were in the pro-democracy camp, now dropped out. So in the Legislative Council, there are only almost, okay, there are only one left. There's only one left, but it doesn't matter, okay, because he's not influential. And then there is another younger students association, okay. They are all teenagers, almost, okay. That organization is quite radical. We may say, okay, much more radical than Josh Wong. And then almost all of them are arrested. And then one is now being tortured in the prison. Yeah. And then so there's almost no room for the protests. And then I say the movement has not stopped, but it's entered another phase. That is, okay, we have to build the network among the civil society. We may say, okay, it is the underground network, okay? Try to build, okay, a network that's they cannot easily suppress. Yeah, I think it is this stage. Hong Kong is now entering this stage, but it takes time. Yeah.
Are there questions from the audience? Gibt es Fragen von Ihrer Seite? Seien Sie bitte nicht schüchtern, nutzen Sie die Gelegenheit, so take advantage.
I think there are 2 messages in the chat as far as I can see. From
there was one message asking who was the translator of the play, and I answered it already, so this is...
okay. Yeah.
Well, I would like to know, when I read a title like a post-human history or a post-human story, of course, I would have the hope that this post-human age could maybe really be like an utopia to some extent, taking humanism, well, to take up the French philosophy, taking humanism as a kind of terrorism. In the end, one could say, well, maybe post-humanism could be a kind of reconciliation with, let's say, the human being and other beings, animals, stones, the world, and so on and so forth. And yet, when I read your piece, your play, I rather would say that this post-human humans are no way better than we are. Maybe even a little bit worse. I mean, it starts out with this guy being depressive, having a depression because he's doing this drone bombing. So could you say something about this relation between writing or theater as a utopia and, on the other hand, this kind of utopia where if you read that you say, well, maybe I'm better off not in this post-human society?
I would say, okay, it's not a utopia, rather than it's a dystopia. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
just kidding. Okay, I'm not that hopeless actually. The first thing is post-human condition is something that's inevitable. We cannot avoid it because, okay, how to define just like a humans, okay, and then with equipment or a cyborg human with, okay, robotic technology. Say we're now using mobile phone and then it is actually quite like cyborg because we can't live without mobile phone. It is part of our life, okay. But I would say whether this post-human condition will be beneficial to humanity really depends on our decision now. That is what I want to say in the play. That is, it can be good. Actually, I would say another is some kind of hope of our post-human future. He is a cyborg, and then he can process a lot of data. He know a lot, but he still keeps approaching or struggling for humanity. But okay, on the other hand, there's also some, okay, the big country, okay, wants to monopolize this technology and then commissions the cutting edge technology company or the startup, you may say, okay, to monopolize this technology and then to control humans. So I think now, especially, I think, say in 10 or 20 or 30 years, okay, we are in the struggle, okay, whether the post-human technology will head us, okay, to a better future or to head us to a dark age. It's really decided by us, okay. But okay, I don't know whether, okay, that Germany, okay, will be much more conscious about this problem. In Hong Kong, okay, I say, okay, before the protest, we are not so conscious about the problem. Because Hong Kong people, okay, would love to use the new mobile phone, to buy a new mobile phone, but okay, not to think about the technology behind it. But okay, after 2019, we are really aware about this kind of infotech and biotech, just because, okay, we know if the government wants to use this to control people or to suppress people, it will be a disaster. Yeah.
Now, there are several questions in the chat, so I would like to read the question of Miriam Narani, who asks, you said that you somehow had a global audience in mind while writing the first piece of your trilogy. How would you describe your relationship with the spectators as an artist, and how does having the audience in mind influences your writings, if it really does?
Okay. The first thing is it went back to my study in London. And then because I had to write a dissertation play, and then I want to write something about the Tiananmen massacre, but I don't want to use the realism. And then the first thing I consider is, okay, as I've said, okay, I use magical realism. I think it is much more cross-cultural because you can fit in your imagination into the symbols. The first thing. The second thing is the language. As you know, that I'm not a native English speaker. It is my second language actually, but I have to write in English. And then I think my disadvantage is I can't write something very everyday life, very daily life. Okay, the slangs for British or for London's use of English. Okay, and then I try to write it in poetic language. So these two stuff are my starting points. Okay, that's I relate my writing with different cultures. And then another thing is, okay, I'm thinking about, okay, what kinds of agenda or social issues that may be shared among different cultures. Say for one of my previous pieces in Munich Residence Theater, I write the issue relevant to the nuclear explosion. And then I think in different countries, okay, we're still under the threat, okay, in Hong Kong and also in Taiwan, in China, okay, also we are under the threat, especially, okay, I have staged it in Seoul, in South Korea, and then some Japanese audience really shared the deep feelings about the play, because as you know, that they have undergone the 311, the earthquake and the nuclear explosion. So this is something that I have in mind, okay, and it's surely influenced my writings, because for writing plays, and I want to communicate with people. Say if I don't want to share with others, okay, I may not write anything, okay, or okay, say for example, if I write a diary, and then it will be much more different from writing a play. Yeah. That is my answer. Yeah.
The next question is from Judith Pieper. I just wanted to add that the story about drone bombing is very current in Germany, as the political party SPD just said they won't support drone war yet, which might also be because of upcoming elections. So you might have heard about this, that this is also a big topic at the moment in Germany, and I don't know whether you want to comment on that or whether I just.
I would say, okay, whether, okay, because of elections, as you know that, okay, whether they really realize this policy, okay, we have to wait and see. I see, because using drone bombing is really tempting to a government, or really tempting to politicians. So, well, we have to keep closely monitor about this, whether they will do it or not. Yeah.
Judith Benzin asks, what are the first and the third place of your trilogy about?
Oh, okay. A concise history of future China is about two lines. Okay, the one line is called The Outsider, from the future. And then they come to our time and then tell us our story. And then he has to set off a journey from the south to the north. And then and another line is now. And then there's a couple called The Man Who Witnesses Pain and The Sinister Girl. They are in love, okay? And then they have to set off a journey from the north to the south. And actually the outsider is the son of these two couples, and there is an interesting love story of the couple. That is the man who wins Spain. Okay, he loves watching musical, but he does not know how to act, perform, and then but one time, okay, he sees an actress, okay, which is only a supporting actress, and then he loves her very much, and then he keeps going back to the theater every night. And then after, okay, the last show, and then he asked her, okay, I can't take my eyes off from you. And then the girl said, okay, I can be with you, but you have to sacrifice, or you have to make a deal because of my family history. And then the deal is, okay, the man becomes blind because he because he has to be with her, and then he has to be blind, something like that. Okay, and then also complicated. Okay, so I can't tell all the story. Okay, in a simple way. The third part, okay, actually I am still now conceiving, and then it will be about space travel. Okay, the topic is about space travel, but okay.
About
I can't tell you.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. About space.
Space travel. Space journey.
Space travel. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I can't tell you more because I have not. I'm still conceiving the play.
But that would mean we aren't on the Earth anymore. We are somewhere in the universe.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So the third part.
And the white bone lady will be there again, right?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe another character.
Okay.
What is the reason for writing a trilogy? I mean, is there some Christian background? So we have like this trilogy of God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit.
I have not related to Bible. It's interesting, but okay. When I was young, and then I have read sci-fi, which influenced me very much. That is called A Foundation, and then the first trilogy is the Foundation, the Foundation trilogy, but by Isaac Asimov. So trilogy is something that always fascinates me.
I understand. Yeah. Sophie Steiker asks, how did you, Pat To, come to want to perform the play on the other side of the globe?
Oh, okay. As I've said, okay, maybe I also can quote another writer. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce, but he is a Japanese writer, and then he's a second Nobel Prize winner, and I love his novels a lot. His novels a lot, and then he said, okay, he wants to learn a language to speak to one different group of people, and then it also fascinates me. Okay, say if I perform a play in other countries or in Germany or also in other country, and then I would receive quite different responses. And then this kind of responses or this kind of, in literature we say reception, it's also should be parts of my creation. Because usually we just speak to local, and then your works will be just for this local. But say if I want to speak to much wider scope of humans, and then I have to get to connect with different cultures. Yeah. And it's always an interesting process, I would say. It's rewarding. Though it will take you more time or take you more effort, but it is rewarding.
Inga asks, I was very fascinated by the idea of monopolizing a story. Could you talk a bit more about what you consider a story, its possibilities and potentials? It reminded me of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's talk on the danger of a single story. Have you heard about that?
Okay. The first question is, because I'm imagining how far the AI monopolizing or the technology monopolizing can go. And then what is the most threatening parts of this kind of technology control is not only control your mind, it also controls what you think or what you find satisfactory. Because if it's monopolized story, it means that it can control your preference or all those things, So it is the most basic thing, most fundamental, or the most threatening. That's, I think, I can imagine. And then for the danger of a single story, no, I have not heard about this. Though I have heard about this writer, but I have not heard about this, and then I'd like to know more. Danger of a single story. It's really interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Julia Just asks, at the beginning it was mentioned that the cursed son is called Anders, other in English, if I heard it right. Could you tell us something about this character and why you chose this name?
Oh, okay. Cool. Actually, in my first draft, it is called Plus. But okay, because I have been to an exhibition, again, visual arts exhibition in Barcelona, and then they have curated an exhibition called Human Plus. And then my editor from the publishing house and then said, okay, well, Plus is quite too normal, too ordinary, okay. And then will you consider another idea of the name of the character? And then suddenly I think another will be interesting, just because another means it is another alternative of human beings, and which exactly, as I've mentioned, okay, another is maybe the possible way out for humanity if in fusion with technology. So that's why I have another, and then I said, and then I think again, well, it is much better than Plus because it has much more layers for interpretation.
So I just mentioned that Judith Pieper has given some more information about Danger of a Single Story, namely that it's a TED Talk and you can find it on YouTube. Ooh. And Inga has added the address on YouTube. So maybe somebody could just copy for all of us the chat, and we will hand it over to Pat To so that he might have a chance to listen to it, to watch it. I would like to know a little bit more about how you conceive and how you write, because I think it's very interesting, and of course it's totally understandable that you don't tell us anything about this new play. But how in the first place, how do you conceive something? Is it that you walk in the forest and you have a good idea and then you sit down and you write it, or is it that you collect material and you remix it? Would you call your stories rather citations of other stories, or which would be maybe a post-human or at least a post-modern way of producing? Or how do you get these kind of ideas and these kind of ways of writing a story?
Okay, actually, the first thing is I will decide some kind of direction. Say, okay, for a concise history, okay, the direction is from the Tiananmen massacre, and post-human, okay, it's about future war and AI. And then I would open an ordinary notebook from Muji. Okay, and then I would gather different data or any thoughts that I suddenly think of, okay, and then put it in the notebook first, okay. And also, I always love reading books, okay, relevant to the topic. Say for post-human condition, and then I have read a book called The Future of War, and also some other stuff, okay, about an introduction of artificial intelligence, something like that. And then I put all those ingredients in the notebook first. And then at some point, and then I think, well, that's enough. And then I try to structure them in a more easier way for writing. And then I start. Okay, but not to decide all the stuff. Okay, just, okay, again, okay, I've got already enough ideas, and then I start to write. And then during writing, and then I will come across with various interesting experiences. Just like, okay, the girl with a tree is a character that I have not thought of when I do the preparation. It suddenly comes to my mind when I'm writing. Yeah.
So there is one more question in the chat, and I guess it's the last one that we can take. Miriam Tröster asks, do you observe any broader interest in dystopian stories in Hong Kong in the last few years that also includes fiction such as the anthology Dark Fluid or films such as 10 Years? If you do, is this interest shared by spectators and readers?
Okay, the fiction anthology Dark Fluid, is it also a Hong Kong fiction? Yeah. Oh yes. I don't know how to translate back into Chinese. So anyway, I did not know this book very much. Sorry. Okay, maybe you can provide more information. Thank you for your information. But for 10 years, I surely know that because it is a really famous film. Okay, because it imagines. Okay. A few years ago, and then they imagine after 10 years what Hong Kong will become. And then I think some of the episodes are interesting, but some of the episodes are just like, okay, not so imaginative, okay, maybe just like, okay, someone shares on the social media, okay, this kind of speculation. But some are interesting because there are 5 episodes in 10 years. And I would say it is a kind of phenomenon of Hong Kong stories or creation. That is, because we're desperate about future, so we imagine our future. But most of them are dystopian. Or it's quite true. Okay, it reflects our anxiety, you may say. Yes.
Thank you very much, Pat To. It was a pleasure to listen to your play, to your explanations, to all the different informations that you gave to us. It was, of course, also a somehow sad and horrible perspective on the status quo. But I think it's important that we deal with it and that we get together with what we get from your play, also this kind of background to it. I would like to thank also Julia Weinreich, Anna Bada-Velice and Agnes Kammerer for their contribution to this Ringvorlesung tonight. And of course, I have to thank all those who helped us to make it happen despite the fact that we still are suffering from the pandemia. That is to say, of course, the producer from the Musanturm, Selim Mkatmi, of course, Lukas Renner from the Radio Wilsonstraße FM in Gießen, and Paul Colosseus, who was also part of our team here with helping us out. I would like to wish all of you happy holidays. The lecture series, the Ringvorlesung, will continue on the 14th of January with Nature Theater of Oklahoma, that is to say with Kelly Copper and Pavel Liska. And up until then, I hope that you all will have a good time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for your attention, for your questions. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Bye, and thanks, Pat To.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.